What is up, my little Deinos? Vepsis here, your coach of the Helsinki Dragons, and I'm finally back for my finals of the NPL tryout tournament when we are going up against Shuckleking and his team be the Philadelphia Absol. And this is highly anticipated match for a lot of reasons, and for myself this is somewhat a nerve-wracking matchup for a couple of reasons. One, because of the draft what Shuckleking has, which we are gonna be going through quickly, and what kind of things I really had to emphasize on and still not be too sure if I'm able to deal with it. And then there's the factor of Shuckleking himself. When I signed in for this tournament and when I saw him being signed in, I had an odd feeling that eventually, if I want to win this entire tournament, I might have to face him eventually. I didn't think it might happen in the finals, but I didn't cross that out of the question, but there was a small chance depending on how the polls could have gone. I had an odd feeling that I face him eventually, and if I want to make something happen, I have to go through him, so that was basically point behind this. And Shuckleking, to me, all of us have, let's say this, all of us have, as a draft league coaches, we have one opponent who we feel like is quote-unquote our kryptonite. I had one person before in Generation 6 who I considered a kryptonite called Sparkle, who is after, who Gliscor is named after. But I've been able to overcome that kryptonite, and now I haven't had to consider him as a kryptonite anymore. But Shuckleking has taken over that spot for me in a sense that he has been a coach who I have some reason a very hard time of beating him. I don't consider myself to be that much inferior coach in a skill level wise. I do, from my point of view, in my opinion, I feel like we are somewhat equal. But that's another topic for another time and a speculation for others. But that's what I believe in. But even best of the business like Shuckleking, for example, he has had his own kryptonite versus Matic Pro League, if you happen to know, and I feel like this is a case for a lot of coaches. We always have someone who we have very hard time beating, and either it's because of their playstyle, some sort of mental aspect behind it whenever you go up against him or her. Who knows what it is, but for me it's been a versus Shuckleking, and to be fair, I feel like I should be having more wins than one throughout my career versus him, but I only do have one. I feel like I should have three if one of the games didn't get hacks towards me, and the one of the other games I kinda choked it away from myself when I was in a position to win it the game. But either way, this is kinda like the background throughout this matchup and what kind of history we have behind ourselves when we have faced before. But now let's go through what Shuckleking has on his roster, what he was able to utilize to get to this far with 7-1 and plus 14 differential. Going through pools and throughout the bracket itself. And Shuckleking has drafted himself Godson, which is one of his C captains, Megadianci, Scoloped, Manafi, Necrozma, Desitsuai, Aerodactyl, which is one of his C captains, Alolan Person, Conkeldurr, and Regigiga. So that is his roster, and again, like in semifinals, I tried to go the team builder part a lot more efficient, but basically going to this match, so one big factor will come into play throughout the team builder and potentially in the game itself, and that is the Scoloped. Why is Scoloped such a big issue? Well, speed passing is allowed in this tournament, and Scoloped by far is, as we know, the best speed passer in the game because it has the beast boost ability, and that gives a lot more easier time to be able to enable to speed pass into something else more efficiently without playing your turns more carefully. Like for example, when I utilized Gliscor as a speed passer, I had to make it a lot different ways to make it even work, but on Scoloped's case, because it has the speed boost throughout its ability, it's a lot easier to find your turns to be speed passing it, and that's been one of his main agendas, to be able to get himself in this position, besides being a really good battler. But he, as a really good battler, has really abused this rule, which I believe personally that should not be allowed. Even if I used it before, I don't think speed passing should be ever allowed in draft league, but that's something that is like it's allowed, so I have to somewhat be able to try to deal with it. And because of he has so many mods that can potentially abuse it and become a lot threatening towards me, even outside what they already are, that's gonna be a very hard thing for me to try to utilize. And this was something that throughout this team build I had to try to figure out a game plan that I try to utilize to win this game. But this speed passing puts a lot of unnecessary pressure, if you could say, to that as well, to try to come up with a game plan while be able to also deal with it. So because of that, you're gonna be noticing that my team building was heavily pressured by this, and I still don't think it has enough answers to speed passing if it's being played right, but then it comes into play itself how we are able to play around it. But let's go through the team, what I have built and what the idea is behind it. So starting this team build, I'm gonna be bringing yet again a Choice Scout Tapu Koko with Volt Switch, Thunderbolt, Dazzling Gleam and Brave Bird. Enough speed, well, max speed basically to speed tie with Mega Aerodactyl. Enough HP that Mega DNC doesn't OHKO us after Stealth Rocks, and then rest on put on special attack. Why did I go with Choice Scarf? Speed Pass. Even though I'm not able to outspeed this Scoloped after +2, I figured that even at +1 it's worthy for me to make sure that I outspeed this Scoloped and potentially kill it with Thunderbolt itself. And Choice Scarf also enables me to outspeed potential Choice Scarfers what he could bring, barring a speed tie with a max speed Jolly Aerodactyl if it's Choice Scarf. So there were a lot of sets what I could have done with Tapu Koko, and to be fair, this is somewhat inferior to them. But again, this is a factor that I need to keep in mind, that with Choice Scarf I'm also potentially able to outspeed a +3 or +4 Conkeldurr as well, if he has been able to speed pass into it. And I do heavily see Conkeldurr to be one of his main targets to try to speed pass into. He has done it several times before, and considering the team what I have and considering what he can do with it with speed passing, I definitely can see it being tried to be done versus me as well. So I figured that as long as it doesn't get out of hand, which is still a potential thing to happen, if those requirements are met that he is not able to outspeed potential Choice Scarf Koko, I want to have this set in the back to potentially revenge it with Volt switching it out versus it, baiting to go for another move, then Train Punch, and then finish it off with another Volt switch, or finish it off straight out with Dazzling Gleam. So that's the kind of the idea with this set and how it was pressured to become what it is. And the next mode I'm gonna be bringing is Yuxi. Yuxi is yet again a Choice Scarf, but this Choice Scarf set has a little bit different aspect to it, not purely because of the speed passing. This is my dedicated lead, hopefully to bank on the fact that he leads with his Mega DNC. Why do I think he's gonna lead with Mega DNC? One, he has done it few times before, just to get the Magic Bounce activated, and two, because of the concept of my team, how it looks like, and how many potential hazard stacking options I have, I want to make him think that he wants to prioritize that Magic Bounce on the Mega DNC, barring debating of course what kind of set he's running. Maybe he doesn't think this way, but I'm banking on the fact he does think it that way, and that's why we are running almost max attack Adamant Nature with Iron Tail. Even max HP DNC should be dropping to this Iron Tail, and that is the kind of the goal with this. It's a very risky route if he doesn't lead with that, because I can potentially put myself in a very bad position. But we have to kind of cross that bridge as it comes towards us, and how we're gonna be dealing with that. But off the chance he doesn't lead with with his Mega DNC, I do intend to then click probably Stealth Rocks, depending on what is in front of me. But for the most part, I expect myself to click Stealth Rocks and get them up, and therefore cripple especially this Scoloped early on with them, and hopefully it's gonna help me dealing with it. Next up, we are gonna be bringing Ferrothorn, very odd Ferrothorn set with a Assault Vest. But the idea with the Assault Vest that this is hopefully able to either 1v1 a Mega DNC, or it's gonna be 1v1 Manaphy. It can also potentially take a Heat Wave from a Necrozma, barring its item of choice. If it's a boosting item or it's been +1, then I cannot take it for guaranteed. But other than that, this thing is there to kind of give me a soft check to Manaphy or DNC and be able to deal with them 1v1. I figured with that kind of set, And that kind of mindset with the attacks what we have running and the spread what we are running, that's probably the best value what I could have on it. I did consider even Choice Bandit early on, but I figure with the Choice Band and without Assault Vest or Okaberry, it can easily be killed without them on the special side with the fire type coverage what I can see him running. So I figured the Assault Vest is a little bit better ways to go about it. But this is prone to Scolopede speed passing in front of it, and that's something that I have to be trying to avoid to happen, but we have to say that if I'm able to do that. But I figured that this set and this mod was essential to come, and then it comes down to how the game turn out, that if it's gonna be able to do its job well enough for me. Next mod what I decided to bring is gonna be my Kurem, and this is gonna be a motherfucking choice spec set with Modest Nature and purely because of the fact that I needed a special wall breaker, and his ice resist is basically mana free. And with the Modest Nature, even if he tries to run a very bulky mana free, I do a lot of damage with Draco on it. I basically two-shot even a special defensive Necrozma, which I thought could be a chance to come, and everything else is gonna be nuked by this thing. And I have a good amount of special defense investment that I do leave a +3 Dazzling Gleam for mana free, barring it being Modest, I believe. And we are also able to leave any one hit from the Unsee from full, barring it being fully physically attack invested with Diamond Stone, but I don't expect that to be the case. And then we have enough speed to outspeed a max speed Decidueye, which is also a same speed tier that some of my other mons are going to be running after this. So that is the idea there. Just all potential coverage moves which I figured that are going to be most efficient versus his roster. And this is hopefully going to be a very good wall breaker to pair with Tapu Koko when it's... I'm kind of expecting him to run a bulky Decidueye to deal with my Tapu Koko, so hopefully I'm able to, depending on how the plays turn out, but ideally in a situation if I'm able to put himself in a defensive position and try to bring in the Decidueye to check my Koko, I can always kind of take advantage of it with this Kurem and start demanding kills. And that was kind of the idea what I had with it. So the next mod what I'm gonna be deciding to bring is gonna be Gliscor. And Gliscor is gonna be a stall breaker set with a more of a physical defense investment, but some special defense investment to guarantee that random hidden power ice from Guardsol, which can be a thing as long as he's not invested on special attack and he's running like an Adamant or Jolly Nature, we avoid being two-shotted by it. And then we are running this stall breaker set with Taunt, and Taunt was a very niche in a sense that this is only way for Gliscor, for example, to enable that Scolopede can speed pass into anything. My entire team so far, barring Yuxi be locked in the wrong move or Ferrothorn, should be able to avoid him able to freely speed pass. And Gliscor had to run Taunt because he doesn't get access to like Roar or Whirlwind or anything like that. So this was kind of like my best way to go about it. Taunt can also help me deal with something like a defensive Necrozma with Taunt and Toxic. I can also potentially deal with Decidueye with that way, Taunt and Toxic. So I figured that the Taunt, even though it's primarily to make sure that this thing is not a liability to Scolopede bottom passing, assuming that I get the Taunt up before he goes for that move, the Taunt should be able to efficiently deal with some other things as well and function as a stall break. And this is kind of like a primary switch into Guardsol ban Scolopede if it's a offensive set. So that's the idea there. Then the last member of the team will be Kenny, our Tentacruel. And this is like a soft check and failsafe for the speed passing with the Payapa Berry, with Muddy Water, Toxic, Haze and Rapid Speed with a particular amount of defensive investment and HP. And that is there to make sure that Adamant, Guts, Flame Orb, Facade from a Conkeldurr doesn't kill me after rocks. That was the key factor. I knew that that has to be required for me to meet with Tentacruel. Raystone was added on the special attack, so as many subs as possible are being broke by Muddy Water, barring from a mana free or max HP Guardsol, I believe, or some other random mods which could potentially do that. But either way, that's the idea with the set, and the speed investment is there yet again as the Gliscor and Kurem has to outspeed a max speed Decidueye. And I run Muddy Water over Surf or Scald was purely because Surf doesn't have any secondary effectiveness to it. And I figured that, well, I might as well run Muddy Water over it, because it has the 30% chance lowering accuracy on my opponent's side. And maybe that comes into play if I ever find a turn to be able to get it off. But there's a very high chance that Tentacruel might not be able to do more than just hazing after he's been speed passed, and that's been the primary goal with it. The Payaba Berry is just there to make sure that off the chance he uses Necrozma as the bottom passing target instead of Conkeldurr for whatever reason, I can still withstand that as well and slow it down, and then hopefully if it's a slower variant I can still Toxic it off after the haze itself, or Rapid Spin if I need to. So that's the concept of the team. The primary goal is just to try to withstand this Scolipede speed passing as much as possible, what I can have. Surprise factor on Yuxi hopefully on turn 1 if things go my way. And avoid Diancie be able to get up Stealth Rocks or have the Magic Bouncer activated and able to eliminate it. That was one of the biggest goals with this team. And then hopefully throughout the late game, hopefully one of my Scarfers in Yuxi or Coco primary can win the game, and Kurem, as long as he doesn't get rocks up or a lot of damage to it, I can utilize this thing as a wall breaker to break down his walls. And from there I can clean up with one of these two, ideally with Coco probably, consider it's a much stronger threat to him. But that is gonna be team. I'm gonna be coming back with the replay, so give me a couple of seconds. Alright, we are back with the replay. We're gonna be seeing that Shuckleking has decided to bring a Conkeldurr, Mega Diancie, Godsum, Scolipede, Necrozma and Decidueye. And to be perfectly honest, I kinda expected all these 6 to come. But even though I knew that this is gonna be a thing, I still don't know for sure what they're gonna be running. And based on the matchup itself, it's gonna be a very rough time for me to be able to deal with it, mainly because of the Scolipede itself. But other than that, if I'm able to get rid of the Scolipede or be able to deal with the bottom passing properly, I like my chances to win this game. But it also requires as well that the turn 1 lead hopefully comes into my way. How I have envisioned it throughout the team building, and what I have envisioned him potentially wanting to do versus me. But we have to see how that's gonna go in turn 1. And I'm gonna be leading up with the Yuxi. Yuxi was my primary idea of leading. My primary goal is to kill the Diancie if it leads with it, and hopefully I'm able to surprise it. If not that, then I probably will get up my Stealth Rocks turn 1, depending on what I see in front of me. So that is gonna be the goal, and that is gonna be my lead of choice. And we're gonna be seeing that my opponent Shuckleking is actually gonna be deciding to lay with Necrozma. And this is probably the worst case scenario actually, that he leads with Necrozma, depending on what set it is. Called offensive Necrozma is a very big nuisance for me to switch into. But either way, I'm gonna take this time to get up my own Stealth Rocks, as is gonna do the same thing as well. So turn 1, both of us had the same idea. But from here, this is gonna get a little bit dicey, as you're gonna be able to tell. I'm gonna go into the Gliscor hoping that I can take any one hit. And if he goes for the Heat Wave, I take it even better. And I didn't see him, for example, clicking a Psychic type stab, because I had Yuxi in front of it. So he was able to hit it that thing hardest with that. But because he's actually faster than me, he's able to two-shot me right from the get-go with that Necrozma, and that immediately tells me that it's either timid with a Twisted Spoon, for example, to boost its special attacking move with like the Psychic Stab, basically the Photo Geyser, whatever you pronounce it. Basically that stab move what he just went for. He would be either timid with that item, I believe, or he's just straight up modest without even a boosting item. So either way, this is gonna be a very dicey decision for me, how I'm gonna be able to deal with this thing. And arguably I make already a misplay here, that I'm going to Kyurem first to try to ideally outspeed it, but I cannot outspeed it because my Gliscor was the same speed tier. But in a hindsight, you're gonna be seeing that I should have gone into my Ferrothorn first, get the initial chip, and then go into Kyurem and finish it up. But I do it wrong way around, and in a hindsight you're gonna see that this is gonna be a very rough time for me. I could have gone also for the Draco Meteor and ideally can kill it unless it's a focus sass. But I know after the game he was actually focus sass on that set, so it doesn't change if I want go for the Draco and be able to kill it. So I went for the safe Ice Beam, guaranteeing myself damage here. But he does a lot of damage with Photo Degeyser, and because he does have the Decidueye in the back, I have to keep that Kyurem around. I cannot let it go down, so I have to save that thing. But because I don't have other ways to remove these hazards than with Tentacruel, these potential Stealth Rock staying up in my side of the field can really hurt me in the long run. And he has option to also prevent me to able to Rapid Sphere with the Decidueye. So Kyurem is heavily crippled from there. And ideally what I should have done, like I said, I shouldn't have gone into my Ferrothorn knowing that it's Assault Vest, be able to take the Heat Wave easily, get the chip damage off, so my Kyurem was able to then kill it and leave the Kyurem out there instead of Ferrothorn. That's a misplay that in a hindsight that I can admit that I should have done, but at the time I did it hoping that I can kill the Necrozma or be able to do massive damage to it, and if he kills my Ferrothorn off with the Heat Wave, I can at least let it go down with the Necrozma itself. But because my Ferrothorn was able to live that, he's able to bring his Scolipede in, and this is the scenario that I was really afraid of happening. And this is gonna be a thing that I want to mention immediately, that you're gonna be seeing that I do intend to stay in no matter what with Ferrothorn. I feel like there will be people to say that I should have swapped out immediately to my Tentacruel to prevent this, and it's a fair assumption to say that. But the reason why I don't do this, and this is why I believe speed passing should be banned, is that I don't know for sure which turn he decides to click button pass. Worst comes to worst, whenever I would try to swap into my Tentacruel, he can button pass on that turn. So I cannot always for sure guarantee myself to able to haze it before he's able to do that. Then there's a factor that he might pack Earthquake seeing the haze Tentacruel coming in on his set. And he can potentially just pop me immediately to the point that I cannot avoid it, be able to button pass. And then he can button pass later on once he's able to two-shot my Tentacruel with the Earthquake. So that's another thing that I have to be very cautious of. And then there's a factor that even if my Tentacruel is able to haste this thing, he can still potentially just button pass turn before that and be able to get something in for free, like a Guard Swamp, which right now without Gliscor I'm heavily pressure pied, because my only check to is my Yuxi, which is mainly offensive set. Even though it can take hits relatively well, it's gonna still put a lot of pressure to me and still be a bad position. So right now what I have to basically do, from my point of view when I was playing this, is that I have to let the button pass happen. And I hate that I have to do that, or I hated the fact that I had to allow it to happen. But I have to trust on the fact that I have to compromise with the Tentacruel. Once the Conkeldurr ideally comes in with the button pass, I can lift the hit, I get the haze off, then I go down, and then I deal with the Conkeldurr from there. And when the Conkeldurr doesn't have the speed boost, then I have things to deal with it offensively wise. A little bit easier with Yuxi and Coco, but that is the idea there, that how I felt like these turns are going to happen, the options what I had, and the options which I didn't feel comfortable able to do. So I have to do this, which looks really passive, I will admit that, but this is why speed passing should be banned in a draft league format, especially if this Scolipede is being allowed. And there's like, I cannot criticize Shuckleking for doing this. This is exactly how you should be using a Scolipede with speed passing. He has done this before, and he did the right call bringing it in right now, because he knew that this is the perfect target for him to do. And ideally I cannot do anything about it, and honestly, like I mentioned before, I cannot play this. There's not one guaranteed way for me to play this right. I don't believe in that, because it's a lot of it involves a lot of hindsights, and it requires me to know exactly what this set is running, especially the attacking move and the turn when I expect it to go for the button pass. Because if he does it on a right turn, even if I bring the Tentacruel in, he's able to button pass potentially to the Guard Swamp if I would have done that earlier on these turns. And that is a very rough time for me as well, defensively wise, like I mentioned at this point of time. So I'm in a position that I have to just let this happen, compromise the losses what I will have, and hopefully from there I can still beat his team. But it's gonna be a rough, harder time already, because he dealt with my Gliscor, Kurem is being crippled, and potentially I'm not able to find my turn to get rid of these Stealth Rocks with my Tentacruel, because it might go down quite quickly to compromise the speed passing, and the fact that he has the Sitsuai for blocking the Rapid Spin if he chooses to do that. So now we are gonna be seeing that eventually he's able to accomplish this goal, which means that now I really rely on this Tentacruel to work out, but this is why I brought this set as I did. As he's gonna bottom pass into Conkeldurr, I went for the Knocko versus the Scoloped earlier on, hoping that he doesn't want to as much as to bottom pass into Conkeldurr, because if I went Knocko right from there, I would have been able to eliminate its Flame Mob. But he still does that play, and the reason why I swapped my Knocko play to Gyro Ball was that Knocko would not do nearly enough to a Guard Zombie if he used that thing as a switching to come in, reacting differently when I went for the Knocko pass, cause the Guard Zombie is one of his C captains. If he went to that thing, he takes like 16% or maybe 20% at max from a Knocko, because then it doesn't do anything to it when it's holding the C crystal, and that leaves it in a range that Yuxi has a lot harder time killing it with a Ice Punch, and there's a chance if he's Adamant he can just outright kill me with a Adamant Traganium C after Stealth Rocks. It depends on rolls, I believe, if I remember right, but because of that I had to play that turn a little bit differently, hoping that he didn't do this, but he still does it, not fearing the Knocko, I believe, and or expecting me not to go for it again. And now Ferrothorn finally goes down. Conkeldurr is around 34% after the burn damage, so it's relatively low, but it does have the +6 speed, so I really need to now get off the haze, hopefully I don't get critted, and then I can deal with from there. He's gonna go for the Facade, my spread comes into play that I always lifted, barring the crit, and I get the haze off. Here comes something that I'm gonna be regretting in a hindsight, that there are a lot of turns that I feel like I should have played a little bit more aggressively, and here I feel like I could have played a little bit aggressively here and swapped into Yuxi on upcoming Mach Punch. Even though Tentacruel would die to rocks, saving it as a fodder probably in a hindsight would have been better play from my end. But I was hoping in the fact that maybe he doesn't have that, maybe he's running some sort of auto coverage move for whatever reason, or he's gonna predict the Yuxi coming in and then go for a Knocko, which would be really hurting me in a hindsight. But he does the play of going for the Mach Punch, preventing me to do anything and finish me off, because now I would be able to outspeed it without the speed being involved in it. So that's a play that I thought in a hindsight I could have done a little bit differently, but it happened like it did, and now I have to go into, I believe I go into Yuxi and lock myself into Zen Headbutt, because I don't want to lock myself into a move that allows Garson or Scoloped to come in for free with the Tapu Koko. The other option would have been just Volt Switch it from there and finish it off with that. That was another move what I could have done, but again, the off the chance he would have made a aggressive swap into Garson predicting a Volt Switch. I don't know if he would have done that play, I guess, in a hindsight, but it was something that I had to debate with, and I decided to go into Yuxi. And now he brings his Decidueye in, and here I decide that I'm gonna scout for the damage with the Zen Headbutt, and this tells me that he is somewhat defensively invested. Definitely max HP, not max first step, but somewhat defensively invested bulk wise, and I get a flinch. This is gonna be funny that I already flinched it from here. You're gonna see versus this Decidueye. Unfortunately for me, but I guess I kinda need a little bit luck at this point, because I'm in a very tough spot because of the speed passing core what he had with Scoloped, and how much Necrozma lead Anti-Conkeldurr was able to cripple me towards the late game. So I kinda had to bank on, I guess, on a luck a little bit there to get a flinch off. And here I'm gonna be going into the Koko and hoping that I take any one hit somewhat decently, as I do. And now I have to bank on the fact that Braybird would kill, but I don't know for sure his spread, and there's a chance that he will live this hit for sure. And with the recall, he probably will kill me another Spirit Shackle, but I get lucky and bad here. Let's say like that. I get a crit on this Desitsuai, and this is huge. I'm not gonna deny this, because I said I get lucky and bad in a sense, and I say this because that this gives me a opening, and I got rewarded by RNG and give myself a small window to win. But it still comes down to how I play this late game, and in a hindsight, I will say that I have to play aggressively to have a chance to win. But this take away guarantee win for Shuckleking in my eyes, and probably in his eyes too, that I was able to crit it. But I definitely take it in a position I am in. I apologize to him that it was very huge for him, and he knows that too as well. And now he goes into the Guardsome. I'm gonna make a sack play into Kurem, but this is a hindsight play that I should have gone into Yuxi first. How I'm gonna be explaining this, that I'm gonna be going Kurem right now, and then I go into Yuxi safely. The way I think that I should have played this is that I go into Yuxi hoping that he clicks the Earthquake, and then from there I can sack the Kurem off the chance he's a C move and burn that, and then my Yuxi can beat it 1v1 ideally. Or I'm able to confirm that if he's not Draganium C, I can tell from that, and then potentially show Scarf and locked into something, or he's something else like a Rosary Berry or something like that to able to deal with God. So I figured that Draganium C, Rosary Berry or Choice Scarf could be probably the item of choice and the set of choice with the gods I'm going to this game. So either way, I make a misplay in that sense that I don't play this aggressively enough to keep myself ideally in the game a lot easier. So you're gonna be seeing that first the Kurem goes down as I sacked it, and then the Yuxi comes in, and I do intend to go for the Ice Punch here, but this is gonna be another thing that even if I sack the Kurem there, in a hindsight I feel like I should be swapping into Coco for two reasons. One, I bait the C move if he has it, and I'm gonna be immune to it, assuming it's Draganium C. Or two, if he's locked into Earthquake, he cannot hit me and he has to swap. So from there I could have gone into Coco and Volt Switch it there or Thunderbolt it. So yet again, I feel like I made a misplay towards the end. In that sense, I go for the Ice Punch, do a lot of damage to him. Unfortunately, I don't kill it, but he goes for the Draganium C, and after the prior damage from Rocks and the Rocky Helmet, he's able to finish me off. And this is pretty much game for Shuckleking. And in hindsight, I will say this, because of his lead of choice with Necrozma, he said he had, and the game plan what he had. If the turns would have gone like they did and the crit didn't happen on the Zitsuai, he should have had the game already from there. From my point of view, I think besides the misplays what I did, which I touched on earlier, because right now I'm locked into Dazzling Gleam, I cannot kill the Diancie from here, so he's able to win this 2-0. I don't think even crit will kill from here. So I'm gonna take this time kinda explaining through the mistakes that I made, which I did think about, cause I could be taking this time just to ramble and bring the salt out of the speed passing being allowed, and oh, that's a bad thing or anything like. I could be doing that right now, but I don't want to do that and take away the credit that my opponents should deserve, because Shuckleking for sure deserved to win this game, straight up. No matter what, he played better than me, I admit that, and congratulations to him to winning the whole tournament. Obviously, I would have wanted to win this game. I was very motivated to go into this game, hoping that I can beat him here and finish out the whole tournament being undefeated. But the only game what I lose is the finals game in 2-0 fashion, granted, which was somewhat close, but it should have not been this close to Shuckleking. And to me, the misplay, the things that I feel like I should have done differently was straight up from the team builder part. I mentioned that I really emphasized on the bottom passing and how much I wanted to make sure the Scolopy doesn't have free turns to do that as many times as possible, and I have the fail safe check on the Tentacruel. In a hindsight, I believe I should have gone a little bit more aggressively myself with my own game plan, because I had ideas with Tapu Koko utilizing a Flying UMC agility set or a weakness policy set with acrobatics, dual stab and agility. If I would have built around a set around that, built a dual screen Yuxi, which also crossed my mind to support with it, and I would have gone in that kind of build strategy instead of try to prevent the speed passing and emphasizing it so much. In a hindsight, I would have been probably in a better spot to try to win this game from there, because the turns didn't turn out starting from turn 1 like I envisioned them. But that's all hindsight, and that's just something for me to learn out from, and that's gonna be something that I really try to emphasize on myself. Every single time I lose, when they happen, always try to learn from them, and that's something what I need to do. And throughout the game itself, like I mentioned, I made the misplays like I did. I didn't play aggressively enough on turns where I feel like I could have avoided to do that, and that was after the Decision I got credit. With the Yuxi, with the Kyurem, like I mentioned before, around the Gossip I should have played it better, so I had the chance in the late game. So that's on me playing wise. But besides that, it was a very hard battle from the get-go to really win if Shuckleking played his speed passing correctly. And as you saw, speed passing can put yourself in a lose-or-lose situation, and that was basically the situation I was in with the Ferrothorn, and there's nothing I can do about it now. And I gave my reasons why I had to do it that way. But that's just... it's a very hard thing to do. But I do want to end this one in a positive note. Like the title of this video is that this is not the end. This is just the beginning. For me at least. Because both me and Shuckleking and a couple of other coaches did make into the NPL majors. And I'm very happy about that. I didn't get informed by this, and others got informed too how the decisions were made before the finals happened. So before I go into this game, I knew both of us will be making to majors, and also congratulations Shuckleking to that. And hopefully from there I can face him, and hopefully in NPL majors they don't allow speed passing, so I can take my vendetta. Several vendettas in one game versus Shuckleking, and hopefully I can start getting rid of this monkey off my back versus Shuckleking himself, and hopefully we can win from there. I'm very excited and happy about making to the NPL majors. That's more right that I could have asked for. Signing up for this tournament, it was obviously something that I hoped for, but I couldn't realistically think it would happen. But because we went so well throughout this tournament all the way to the finals and be undefeated until then, I was the first people to give in I believe what I heard, that I was the no-brainer choice to get into NPL majors, and that is huge honor for me. I'm very excited about it, but this loss and going to the NPL majors definitely is gonna keep me humble and hungry. Humble in a sense that I can see right from this game that I still have a lot of learning to be able to be in a position that I want to be, and that is that I can win anyone who I will go up against. That's what I believe always in, but I can tell that I have still work to be done. And hungry, I'm definitely gonna be hungry for the majors as well, just naturally itself, because it's a great opportunity, but also because I lost this finals, I have now something still to prove in my point of view, that I want to prove that if I face Shuckleking that I can beat him yet again, and this is not gonna be a win for him in his schedule when he would be potentially facing me. But we have to we have to wait and see. I don't for sure when the season will start in NPL majors, when it's gonna kick off. Right now it's looking in January of 2019, no date in that, but we have to wait and see, and I'm gonna be hopefully giving some update from that. But now I'm gonna be ending this video. This is way too long, but I wanted to take my time with this. Thank you all for supporting throughout the whole tournament. There were a lot of people supporting me, a lot of this has been a great experience, and I want to thank you all who have been sharing this tourney with me, and thankfully I can kind of share my tourney into the NPL majors as we get there. And until then, until next time, thank you all for watching, and until then, I'll be see you guys later.